Hey, Mark, one of the things we've been talking about, I don't know how much you had a chance to watch the Seahawks against the Niners or just in general, the defense has been a problem, specifically the past 3 weeks, but the run defense has kind of been a problem. Even, they beat the Patriots, but they allowed 185 yards rushing in that game. They allowed 228. It's been a rough go so far.
Yeah, it always comes down to the same stuff, right? It's gap assignment, being gap sound, and being, in your assigned gap. But really, once you defeat the block in your assigned gap, it's your ability to disengage and get down the line and make a play. And so usually what ends up happening is, getting shoved. And it's funny how you can get shoved out of your gap just by a foot, for instance, and you're pinching hard and you're moving and you're doing those things and you just get displaced by a foot and a half. And what that does to all of a sudden the linebacker gets jammed and caught in there. And then the cutback lanes come. And the next thing you know, those, 2-3 yard gains become, 10, 12, 20 yard gains. And so it really is. I don't think people have an appreciation enough for how difficult that is to maintain your leverage, to maintain your spot, especially also when you're extending, when you're stacking a deep offensive lineman and then all of a sudden you peak, and you're trying to locate the ball. And just by peaking, you get yourself out of spot or out of a leverage position. And the next thing you know, you get rolled up on. Like, those are the little things that happen to teams that don't defend the run well. And just the little things like that become huge, just huge running plays. And, you saw that run at the very end of the game that went for however many yards it went for.
76.
Yeah, 76. And that just completely skews some of that run game. I'm not saying they didn't run the ball well before that, but that definitely skews those big explosive runs. It definitely skews the end all game type of thing. So it's just a lot of little things that you watch. Well,
where do you think it goes, Mark? Because you've got these guys that have to fly around, and yet, you're 225, 230. Do you think that? Because I was looking at the Patriots. They have some, I don't mean to make this the linebacker show, although it is the best position where the smartest, most handsome people play. But no, you look at the Patriots, they got like 250, 255, and then you got other teams that have, these 215-pound guys, and then there's Fred Warner, who's kind of a hybrid of both. But where do you think this kind of lands? Do you think that offenses are going to just maul the 215-pound linebackers, and they're going to have to make changes, or what?
Yeah, I'm a believer, and I say this all the time, man. I just like to condense. I like to condense formations. I like to get, as an offensive guy, I like to get the fat people on the field. Fat people don't move as well. They're not as fast. Like they're stationary. And, this game has become such a hybrid, let's split out our tight ends. Let's open up our formations. Let's throw the ball. 3-step drops, let's throw the bubble screens, let's get guys moving side to side so we can cut back and do all those things. We used to have a rule when I was playing. If it came between a big guy and a little guy, always hit the little guy. Like, that was just a standard rule, right? Hit the little guy, because the little guys don't put as much resistance. And so, like, if we can get to a point offensively where we can get you playing small, and then out of whatever formation we're in, can we condense that formation? Do we have guys that can block? And can we get our offensive lineman that's 330 pounds on your nickel guy that weighs 200 or 190? Can we get him on your dime guy? Like, those are mismatches, and you can start trucking and wearing people out in those situations. And so, even going back to last night's game, you watch the Jets, who have this outstanding defense. Buffalo did a great job of splitting the defense in what I call kind of picket fencing the defense. So they attacked the front side of the defense, and they let the back side of the defense pass rush. They used sets to let them pass rush up the field, and they created like this. Half the defense is rushing up the field, half the defense is, you're just getting shoved at the point of attack, and it created these gaping cutback lanes. And I thought it was really well done by the Buffalo Bills, saying, okay, you guys are going to play super aggressive football. We're going to let the backside of your defense just penetrate, and we're going to invite them to penetrate. And so we're going to create these two different levels where, hey, we're capturing the line of scrimmage, and it may be a stalemate at the point of attack, but because we're letting the backside get 1.5 yards or 2 yards of penetration, we're going to create a huge lane, a picket fence, a swinging gate. And they did that 3 or 4 times early last night, and it was one of the reasons that backup running backs for Buffalo were just gashing the Jets.
Hey, Mark, looking at the NFC, is there a team that stands out to you or teams, maybe plural, more than one, that stand out to you as the real deal? I know Minnesota's 5-0, but we're kind of waiting for them to come back down to earth with Sam Darnold, who was not great in their last game, yet they won. Who's just looking at the Seahawks' chances? Who are the legit teams in the NFC? Who would you say they're the real deal?
I think the Detroit Lions are the best team in football. And I think their roster is legit as good, maybe the best roster in football. I think that like any style you want to play, you want us to beat you to a pulp, we can do that. You want us to throw it over your head, we can do that. Oh, you want us to trick play you to death? Like what they did to Dallas was just downright disrespectful. I think they ran about 5. I mean, they just started lining up 310-pound offensive linemen out in the slot. Like, hey, you know what? We're going to run a bubble screen with you, Dan Skipper. 6'10", 320 or whatever he is. He's like a land giant. When you're taking Penei Sewell, who's one of the finest athletes, and Dan Campbell will tell you he's the best football player on our roster, far and away. But you're taking Penei Sewell, and you're saying, hey, we're going to hook and ladder with Penei Sewell. Like, that's just downright disrespectful. And I'm here for it. Anytime you can disrespect the Dallas Cowboys, I think it's awesome. But